Hi everybody, my name is Jim with Fullman Adventure Club, and today we're going to be taking a look at this portable tire compressor by ROKiT. The cool thing about this is that you can plug it into the cigarette lighter adapter with a cord just like you would any other tire inflator, or this has a built-in 7800mAh battery, so you can just pull it right out, hook it up to the tire, no cords needed, and inflate it that way as well. You can set the PSI to whatever you want it to stop at, and it also has a little light on the top and stuff like that. Let's see if I can turn that on for you. And so it's pretty cool. It comes with all the accessories. It's very lightweight. It's very easy to handle and store. So why don't we take a look at it? We'll check out the features and see how it does in some real world testing. All right, so checking out what's in the box here, we have a nice little velvet carry case. Then you're going to have all your little accessories and pins for basketballs, the hose itself to connect to a vehicle tire, your long cord there, and then we have the unit itself and a manual. Pretty straightforward. So everything you get, you're going to get the tire inflator itself, the air hose, which is going to connect to normal vehicle tires, a cloth bag to keep it all together, a Type-C battery charger, nice long DC power cable, and the plugs into the cigarette lighter adapter, a French pin, which I believe is for motorcycle tires, but I could be wrong, a ball pin adapter, which is good for soccer balls and basketballs, etc. Plastic pins, which you can use to inflate pretty much any pull toy, anything that you would usually blow up by mouth. That's what those are for. And then you're going to have an extra fuse as well, which is nice of them to throw in there. Now, when it's corded, it says it's going to take about 8 minutes to, plug in a normal, car tire or whatever. It does say it goes a little slower with the corded, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but it'll do it in about 7 minutes. So a pretty negligible difference there, but you can run it either way. Does have a little flashlight as well, so you can see what's going on at night, so you can connect it to your tire, which is always handy to have. It does have a 7800 milliamp hour battery that they say will inflate about 3.5 tires that are 195, 55, R15. And then it says it'll inflate like a car tire 4 times, a motorcycle 8 times, a bike tire 12 times, and a basketball 24 times. I think that really depends on the size of the tire, etc., but we'll get into that with my testing. So you can use this on pretty much anything that you want, and it says it'll go from 0 to 36 PSI with a car tire in about 8 minutes running off the battery. In my experience, since I didn't have a small car tire to inflate, my truck tire took about 24 minutes, and that was from 0 to 36 PSI, but that is a big tire, like a 31-inch tire. It does says it has a max pressure of 150 PSI. I don't know about that. I had to turn it back on about 3 times while inflating my giant RV tires under load to get there, but we'll discuss that in the testing as well. Maybe it'll get up to 100 PSI. The most I took it up to was 60 PSI. So why don't we jump right into the testing and see how this guy does. The little hose is actually really useful if you have to air down your tires a lot. If you go off-roading over rocks, you have to deflate your tires quite a bit. This is a lot faster and easier than just depressing the valve stem to let air out of your tires, so I'm definitely keeping this in the truck with me because that made things a lot easier. Now these are about 31-inch truck tires, so I'm going to go ahead and deflate these. This is off battery power. I just pulled it off the charger. I set it for 34 PSI. And the little gauge on there, the display went up to 35, but when I checked it with my tire gauge, it was right at 34 PSI. This took about 20 minutes to complete. Then I switched to the other tire off the same charge, and it did inflate it to about 17 PSI, but didn't get it all the way up there. So about 1.5 on the truck tire off a single charge, but those are large tires. So now we're gonna try it on the RV here. So I'm gonna go ahead and deflate the RV tire down a little bit. Got some water up there because it was sitting perfectly level, so a little waterfall there. But once we do this is going to be off battery power, and I didn't pull it straight off the charger. This was after it was sitting for a few weeks, and it said it was fully charged, so I didn't charge it. But I think, you only got 3 bars on the gauge, so it might have been like at 80% or something like that. It took it up to, let's see what we get up to here, I think about 18 PSI. And then the, ran for about 20 minutes. It's a big tire. And then I just plugged it in, switched to the cord, because this is really a PSI test to see kind of what we can get that up to realistically. We know what it'll do off battery power, so I went ahead and plugged this guy in. And we're gonna go ahead and just continue this. Now this is a really hot day, and it was kind of sitting in the sun on the hood before I started using it. And it will shut off if it gets a little too hot. So it stopped at 37 PSI there. So I had to go ahead and turn it back on. It's going to run for a little bit. I think we get up to around like 53 PSI or something before it turned off again. I'm assuming just because it overheated. It was pretty warm. It was in the sun before I started, etc. And it does have that thermal protection. Yep, cut off at about 56. So I turned it on one more time, and what we ended up getting up to was about 60 PSI, which is impressive. I mean, I've had little portable compressors before, and they have to work really hard just to get up like past 35. So I decided to do it on a cooler day. I didn't have it sitting in the hot car. And so I plugged this directly into the lighter socket. This is a corded test. And when I was deflating the RV tire, I accidentally completely deflated it, and it lost the bead on the tire, so I couldn't pump it up. So I had to do the old farmer trick with some flammable liquid and fire technique to reset the bead on the tire. After that hour delay, I went ahead and plugged this in. It was about at 8 PSI, because I didn't want to lose my bead, but I did use it to pump it up to 8 PSI. So we're just going to consider this a starting from zero test, and we leave it on there. This whole process took me about 30 minutes, and it did run solid. It did not shut off from overheating or anything like that. So I think I did just have it in the sun too long that other day, and it was just trying to protect the batteries in itself from getting too hot. So it stayed pretty cool, and when it did finally shut off, what we ended up with was 54.5 PSI, which is really good for a little tiny portable compressor that small. I was pretty impressed with it, and that's going to get you anywhere you need to go. Well, there you go, guys. I think it's actually very cool and handy as long as you're using it within reasonable expectation levels. I think it could really come in handy in a lot of different situations. All of my testing was on heavy-duty truck tires, which are very large, and it was able to do 1.5 of my truck tires, and it was able to get the RV tire up to 60 PSI, which will get you anywhere you need to go. Now, for motorcycles, bicycles, small passenger cars, and stuff like that, it's going to work like a dream. No problem, especially with motorcycles and bikes that don't have a 12-volt cigarette lighter adapter power source. You'd have to pull up a vehicle and plug in a cord to that cigarette lighter adapter with other tire compressors, and with this one that's going to eliminate the need to do that. So I think it'd be very, very handy for those purposes. Also, I have a pump room for my water in my cabin here, and it has a really big pressure tank for the water, and occasionally you have to top off the pressure in that pressure tank using an air compressor on the top. And it was always a nightmare trying to get a 12-volt cigarette lighter adapter power source into my pump room to use any other compressor that I have. And so this is going to completely eliminate that problem for me. Use your imagination. I think it's probably going to come in handy for a lot of you. Check the description down below if I ever have a premature failure or something goes wrong with it. I like to update that, so if you see this video in the future, you'll know how long it lasted or if something went wrong. And that way, if you don't see anything in the description, so far so good, and it's still running strong. But I think that about covers it. I think it's pretty cool. I will put a link in the description down below if you guys are interested, so you can go over there and check out the details and pick one up if you want. And if this video is helpful, please like, share, subscribe. That really helps me out. So until the next video, my name is Jim with Full Moon Adventure Club. Thanks so much for watching, you guys, and happy camping.